thing about this movie for sure this year has been the marketing stuff. You know, they got the popcorn bucket where you can light the eyes up. But I think the coolest thing was like actually the drinking cup. I actually like the size of this one a lot better, and it's built like a rock. So you know, if it falls or drops or anything, it's not going to get damaged that much. And the straw is actually built in it, so it's not like a pull straw that you can take out. Neither here or there, but. So that's really cool. I hope Cinemark actually continues to do stuff like that for horror movies. And I think they brought those Scream buckets back if you wanted one. I think you get it on the website. But guys, we're here to talk about Saw X. You know, going into this movie, I was hoping that it was going to feel like those 2000s films for sure, because that's my bread and butter. That was my childhood. That's my generation's Friday the 13th, as I call it. Not in the sense that they're the same, but like it was a yearly thing. 2006, I would go. 2007, I would go. 2008, 2009. It was a yearly Halloween thing, the same way in the 80s. People that grew up during that time was like, let's go see the next Friday the 13th next year. There was one every year except for, I think, 2 years in the 80s. So just a lot of parallels. The Saw X, you know, I went into this just looking to have fun. And I did, and I still felt a little underwhelmed by some of it, but let's just get into it. You know, with this movie, we're looking at John Kramer, who's obviously, you know, the whole thing goes around his character is he's a vigilante, and he also is a brain cancer person, you know, and in this movie, we see him try to resolve that issue through a situation of offshore medical practices, so to speak. You know, he meets a guy in the beginning of the film. And the interesting thing about Saw X 2, guys, is like there's no mystery to anything really with this film. I feel like the trailer gave all of it away. We know that Shawnee Smith was going to be in it. We saw that in the trailer. We know that John gets a botched surgery that you know, he realizes there was no tumor taken out. It was really interesting that the trailer essentially gave everything away with this movie. So that's something I should say. There's really no spoilers to talk about because, wow, you know, I wish they would have approached that with a little bit, just approached it differently looking back with the trailers, you know, just not talked about anything, maybe just shown a little bit of the traps. But anyway, getting into it, this movie feels a lot different from the other Saws. Now, this could work in your favor or maybe not. I could see a lot of people working in their favor. It feels like a Saw film, but then it really doesn't. You know, John Kramer is portrayed in this film in such a sad light. Almost like you really feel bad for John Kramer. And that was something that I really was trying to come to grips with that. And with me, like, I really love the way Jigsaw John Kramer feels in the original run of the movies. When he shows up on screen in the original run, Jesus, man, it takes your breath away. He is just so iconic and foreboding and like powerful, even though he's got his ailment of like brain tumors and things like that. It's just incredible, and he's so sinister in 2. There's a creepiness to him in 2 that is to die for me. In this one, man, he's so sympathetic. And it's sad too seeing him. He's Tobin Bell, God bless him. Hopefully he's not going anywhere, but he's a much older gentleman now. I think he's 80, 79, 80. And he's also playing a cancer patient, so it's just like, man, it's like I found myself just wanting to enjoy the moment of seeing him, but the way the character was portrayed in this one, I just wasn't in love with that. It was really just more sad for me to see Tobin Bell be portrayed as this really sympathetic character. And but again, that could be something that a lot of people could fall for. But you know, moving on from that, this movie revolves around him getting revenge on all these people that didn't give him any surgery, but they acted like they did, you know. And so it's very much a straightforward you know, seek and destroy, get revenge type of movie, but in the sense of the way a Saw movie is, where, you know, you get a chance to survive. This is what you have to do. And he gets all these people together. And one of the other thing, I guess we could talk about the traps. There are 2 traps that I really liked. One of them is in the very beginning of the film, and it's the thing with the eye tubes. Again, this was put on the posters of the film, or the teasers anyway. And the other one is this one where bone marrow is all I'm going to say. And it's probably one of the sickest traps in terms of just making me sick in the series. So that I will give credit for. The rest of them were good. I wouldn't say great. Maybe not the most memorable. Not that you forget them per se, but you know what I mean. You know, there are certainly a lot in the original run that are legendary. And so there were 2 in here that I thought were above the line, really good and memorable. The eye tube thing is pretty brilliant. Talk about terrifying. But one of the things about this movie, we talk about looking at these Jigsaw films from Jigsaw, Spiral, and now. In all three of them, I feel you do have to suspend a little bit of disbelief. With Jigsaw, how many people could John Kramer have been involved with through all this time? It's like he seemed to have met and have witnessed everything. The fact that he witnessed late at night seeing through his window the wife actually kill the baby. It's just like, wow. You got to suspend a little bit of disbelief. With Spiral, it's just, it is what it is. It's a spin-off, it's a copycat killer. But with this one, and I mean zero disrespect, I love Shawnee. I think she's a beautiful woman. But 20 years is 20 years. So when she comes in the film trying to look like the Shawnee from Saw 2, you got to suspend a little bit of disbelief. And I don't mean that as a slight whatsoever. And the thing with Tobin Bell's character is he's playing a cancer patient. He's playing a brain tumor cancer patient. So it's a lot easier to look at his character as being extremely frail, closer to death. And so like that right there, kind of like I was like, okay. I had to really suspend a little bit of disbelief with that. Now, I loved seeing Shawnee, but, 20 years, guys, is 20 years. It just is what it is. Father Time doesn't hold back for anybody. So that was a little glaring, and the wig was a little silly. I don't know if that was a wig in 2 when she had that really bad haircut, but it certainly looked pretty silly in this one. But again, it's like I like seeing Shawnee, but you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief with that. And there's such a black and whiteness with this one, like the main villain, as it were. That's interesting. There is truly a main villain in this one, where in a lot of the old movies, there's a lot of shades of gray. And in this movie, I felt like it was way more just black and white than anything else. Like in the first Saw movie, what I love about it is by the end of the film, you want to see Dr. Gordon make it. He wasn't this evil person. He wasn't somebody that, like, the first film will never be touched, I think. It really is brilliant. And with this one, it's very black and white, and I really missed some of the shades of gray that I saw in some of the original run films. Not everyone, but like certainly like in the first movie, the shades of gray with the people involved, with Lee Winnell and Dr. Gordon's character. It's just like that's what made that film so brilliant to me. But with this one, it's very straightforward. Bad people are in traps. Jigsaw is doing his thing. So this wasn't my favorite, guys, and it was a good movie. Rewatch value, I'll have to see. I'm gonna get the film when it comes out, but I'm pretty middle of the line on this one. To be honest with you, there are things about it that the flavor of this one, the more of a black and whiteness to it, I didn't really enjoy as much as those shades of gray you would see in some of the original run Saw films. And I don't know. It didn't. There was a disconnect for me with this one, in a sense, to where I enjoyed watching the film, and there were moments that I was exhilarated, but I didn't feel the thrill ride of excitement with this one like I did with some of the others in the past. In a lot of ways, this is clearly a better film than Jigsaw, no doubt about it. But for Jigsaw, as preposterous as that movie is, I still found it to be a roller coaster ride. And just, it was silly, and I let go and had fun. With this one, I didn't feel as much of a roller coaster ride effect to it that I was looking for. Now, I could be in the minority on this, so Saw X is pretty middle of the road for me. In a lot of ways, it did a lot of things that I think for fans or casual fans of the franchise, or maybe we're looking for a different flavor, this is definitely going to resonate. But for me, somebody that really enjoyed and loved that original run, this one is a different flavor that it's not something I dislike, but it's certainly not my favorite. So it exists, and I like Saw X for sure, but it's not gonna go down for me as one of the best. I feel like we're in the New Line era of the Saw movies. We're like in the New Line for Jason. Like, we had the main run, and now we're in the New Line movies, and they've got these movies coming out where they're fun and they're good. And for that's how I feel. I don't want to speak for everybody, but for me, I feel like this is kind of like the New Line era of Saw films. So for me, it's like, would I say Saw X is maybe the best out of Jigsaw, Spiral, and this one? I probably would, especially on just the director, Kevin, did a great job. I love that he kind of toned down some of the things while trying not to repeat the feel of the original, although I miss it. But technically, in a lot of ways, this is, I would say that's the best out of the three. But for me, the magic is always going to be in that first original run. It just always will. You can't recreate that time, and I respect that they didn't, but at the same time, there were things that I just was not thrilled with. And one of the things that really bummed me out about this movie was the lack of Billy the Puppet. And the sad thing is, this is where I do feel Jigsaw did this even better. And let me say this, and then I'll wrap it up. You get one scene of Billy coming in on the bicycle. We don't get that iconic devil laugh that he does. He comes in, and it's cool, but it was completely underwhelming with Billy the Puppet for me. Completely underwhelming. As a matter of fact, the promotional stuff would have made a hell of a lot more sense if this movie was Jigsaw, because in Jigsaw, when Billy arrives, those red eyes light up, and then he creeps in. And I was thinking to myself, this feels ass backwards to me. It's almost like they didn't want Billy to be a big part of this movie on purpose, because they kind of made it, to me, feel pretty underwhelming when he enters the scene. And like, once he's there, he's there. There is no grandiose entrance for him. There is no cool light hitting him with the way he comes in, or the creeping sounds of the bicycle as much as they were in the original run. So I was actually extremely bummed out with the way Billy was treated in this film. I would have much have preferred to him seem much more creepy the way he did in pretty much a lot of the other films prior to this one. So that's where I actually give a kind of a thumbs down to be honest with you. So that underwhelmed me more than anything, was not getting... Billy didn't seem like such a big deal in the way he was in the original. So there's things I am pretty bummed out about with this one like that, and there's other things that... I'm not saying it's bad, but this is far from my favorite. I think this is pretty middle of the road for me, and that's fine. You know, this is the 10th one. I can't expect everything to be, you know, perfect, but you know, it was nice to see a new Saw film. But I'm gonna say that this is pretty middle of the road for me, guys. With that being said, this was an open kind of review. I didn't want to do a bunch of edits and things like that. Let me know how you feel about it, guys. Saw X. I hope it makes a lot of money, and I love that we got to see a certain other Saw family member in the mid-credit scene. So stick around for that if you haven't. But guys, that's it. I'm pretty middle of the road on Saw X. Let me know how you feel about it. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.